So, today we're going to talk about the single most important chemical reaction on Earth photosynthesis. But we're not just doing a biology class recap. Nope. We're talking about a fundamental billion-year-old bug in its source code. I mean, think about that for a second. What if the very engine that powers life on our planet had a major flaw? It sounds pretty crazy, right? But for most plants, this inefficiency is a daily struggle. So let's dig in and figure out what exactly is going wrong. All right, so first things first, we got to understand the assembly line. We're going to look at the part of photosynthesis that actually builds the sugar, the plant's own little molecular factory. So this whole operation, it's called the Calvin cycle. Just think of it like the construction phase. The plant uses all that energy it soaked up from the sun to literally pull carbon dioxide right out of the air and build it into sugar. This is what it actually means for a plant to grow. And right at the start of this whole assembly line, we meet our main character, an enzyme called Rubisco. It has one absolutely critical job: grab CO2 from the air and feed it into the sugar factory. No Rubisco, no sugar. Simple as that. It's the most abundant protein on Earth for a reason, but it's got a secret, a really big problem. And that problem has a kind of misleading name, photorespiration. But don't be fooled, this isn't breathing. No, this is a massive, incredibly costly biological mistake that basically haunts the entire plant kingdom. Okay, so here it is. This is Rubisco's fatal flaw. It's supposed to grab carbon dioxide. And when it does that, everything is perfect. But get this, about a quarter of the time, it just gets confused and grabs an oxygen molecule instead. And when that happens, oh man, the whole sugar factory doesn't just stop, it starts running a toxic, wasteful process completely in reverse. And the fallout from this one mistake is severe. The process creates zero energy. In fact, it's worse. It actively wastes the plant's precious energy packets, ATP and NADPH, that it worked so hard to make in the sunlight. And to top it all off, it releases carbon that the plant had already captured, basically undoing its own work. And this whole mess gets way worse when it gets hot outside. So how bad is it really? Well, this isn't some minor glitch. Under the wrong conditions, photorespiration can slash a plant's sugar output by up to 50%. 50! Imagine if your car's engine wasted half its fuel just to keep running. That is exactly what's happening inside the leaves of plants like wheat and rice every single hot day. And you can just see how messy the cleanup job is. To fix that one mistake Rubisco made, the plant has to fire up this super complicated pathway that crisscrosses 3 different compartments inside the cell. It is an incredibly long and energy-draining detour just to undo one little error and get back to square one. But evolution is pretty clever. When you have a problem this big, life usually finds a way. And in this case, some plants evolved an absolutely brilliant upgrade to bypass this ancient bug entirely. And that upgrade is called C4 photosynthesis. It's the secret weapon of some of our most productive crops. We're talking plants that thrive in intense heat and sun, like corn, sugarcane, and sorghum. They basically evolved a way to fix Rubisco's big mistake. So how they do it? Well, they basically built a VIP room for Rubisco. Instead of doing everything all in one place, they used 2 different kinds of cells. It's a little complex, but you can think of it as a 2-stage pump that's designed to protect that key enzyme from all the oxygen floating around. Okay, let's walk through this. First, in an outer cell, a different, much more efficient enzyme grabs the CO2. Then, that captured carbon gets shuttled deep inside to an inner cell. And there, the CO2 is released, creating this little chamber that's just flooded with a super high concentration of carbon dioxide. Only then does Rubisco get to do its job, surrounded by all the CO2 it could ever want and totally shielded from the oxygen it doesn't. No more mistakes. So what we have here are 2 different operating systems for photosynthesis. You've got the standard, older version, we call that C3, and then you've got the upgraded specialist version, called C4. Let's put them side by side. All right, so here's the deal. C3 is the default for most plants on Earth. It works great when it's cool and moist. But C4? That's a high-performance adaptation built specifically for hot, dry, and bright places, where that photorespiration bug would normally just cripple a C3 plant. And I mean, when you look at them like this, the differences are just stark. They use different enzymes, they have totally different leaf structures, and here's the bottom line. C3 plants waste a huge amount of their energy on photorespiration, while for C4 plants, it's pretty much a non-issue. They are simply built for different worlds.
And this quote from the source material really just hits the nail on the head. This isn't just some abstract biochemistry class stuff. This has huge real-world consequences. It's the reason why trying to grow a C3 crop like wheat in the tropics is so much less efficient than growing a C4 crop like corn.
But let's be really clear about something. C4 isn't just better all around. That fancy CO2 pump, it costs extra energy to run. So on a nice, cool day, a standard C3 plant is actually more efficient. The C4 pathway is a specialist tool. It's an evolutionary masterpiece designed to win when the going gets tough. And that leaves us with this massive, fascinating question for the future. As our planet gets warmer, is that C4 strategy going to become more and more of an advantage? Or will rising CO2 levels actually give those flawed C3 plants a boost, helping Rubisco find its target more easily? The race is on, and whoever wins will really shape the future of our food and, well, our planet.